Hello students, the purpose of this video is to explain Journal Assignment 12. What I say for V05 also applies for V06. We click on the syllabus, accessing the syllabus, click topic outline, go to week 12. It's a Journal Assignment 12 has been available since 8 in the morning today. I'm recording this video a little bit after 4 p.m. Today is November 9th. The assignment itself was available at 8 in the morning. The assignment will be due on Thursday, November 12th at 11:59 p.m. And you have up until November 16th to submit it late by 11:59 p.m. You can see that detail also here on the assignments and course schedule that I often refer to as the master schedule. Okay, so let's see, it's week 12, right? Week 12, there it is. So 8 in the morning is when it was available today, November 9th. And there you can see the on time and late deadlines. All right, that's done. Now let's look at course content. And let me just say that you can find it through journal assignments. You will find well, find this video. You will also find the sample journal, and you'll find the assignments all in the journal assignments folder. In the essay assignments folder, inside the essay 3 folder, you will find this video, the sample journal assignment 12, and the journal assignment 12 instructions themselves, or the journal where you'll paste or post the assignment. Okay, so those are a couple of paths you can take. Let me go back to course content. So we can take the path of the week 12 folder. All right, so the way I'd like to begin this, let's go ahead and look at journal assignment 12. Right, so we click on that. And alongside with this, we'll have to look at the instructions, okay? Because this, what you see here, actually is very similar to what's on the instructions. But I do give some additional examples that are not on the Essay 3 instruction sheet, okay? So that's kind of a reminder to me that we should go back and look at the instructions for essay number 3. Okay, so we look, so I'll go back to course content and click on week 12, and then click here, essay 3 assignment, right? Obviously that's not due this week. What's due is journal assignment 12, but we'll click on there so that we can get down, scroll down to the essay 3 item and the instruction sheet on that little link. And here, now, if you haven't watched my video from last week for Journal Assignment 11, you should. If you haven't done the outline and everything, you should. Because this essay, I'm trying, it's really hard for me not to re-explain everything, right? You have to interview someone, and most of the results will come from that interview, okay? And here are some sample interview questions. Now, I'm going, probably an efficient way of saying this is that I interviewed my mom about her grandfather, okay? She calls him Abuelito Pancho, her grandfather Pancho, right? And in that interview that I did with my mom, I asked her a lot of these questions, not all of them, but many of these questions. But as you can see in my sample outline, which you can find off of the week 11 folder for journal assignment 11, you can see that according to these instructions, I chose 3 things to focus on in my essay. If I recall correctly, in my essay about my mom's Abuelito Pancho, basically my great-grandfather, Francisco Mujica or Pancho, I'm going to talk about work, about his personality, basically about his work, his personality, and his pastimes or hobbies, okay? So those are the three that I picked. Now, and those will be body paragraph A, body paragraph B, body paragraph C, okay? Now, for one of those things, remember work, personality, and hobbies. For one of those things, I'm going to find an internet article related to it. And I'm going to mention like a quote or two from that article in my paragraph about work. Okay, I decided that it's going to be the paragraph about work. Okay, so you know, I'm looking at this right here, and that's what I'm going to do. I will provide a quote, and that's why I will need an MLA style in-text parenthetical citation. Please don't get scared, okay? Don't get scared by that, all right? And what I've highlighted right now is not what I'm talking about in this video, okay? But I had to read or kind of focus on this in order to explain what we need to do for journal assignment 12. But don't worry about this right now, okay? All right, now, basically what's going to happen is that in body paragraph A, I'm going to talk about the work that my great-grandfather Pancho did, okay? And most of what I say in that paragraph, most of the sentences will come from the interview that I did of my mom. I interviewed my mom about her grandfather, who was my great-grandfather. But one sentence or two will come from the article, quoted from the article. I hope that's clear. Perhaps to be even more clear, let me go back to course content, week 11. And let me go to, see my journal assignment 11, right? It's attached there. It's also attached there, either place. And so here you see it. Here you see the results. Here you see my outline with my introduction, body paragraph A about work, body paragraph B about personality, body paragraph C about pastimes, and then also some material for the conclusion. These are, I mean, I haven't written the essay yet, but when I do, I'm going to use this material. Maybe I'll reorder it a little bit, but I have my information for my essay. The article that is the basis for journal assignment 12 will be very little. I don't mean the article will be short. What I mean is that the material or the quotes that I get from the article will be very few. In fact, only one or two sentences, and that's it. Okay. So I've decided that I want to find an article related to my great-grandfather's work. Because what happened to him is that I think he was born in Mexico, but he moved to Texas and worked in Texas. He would go back and forth between Mexico and Texas, but he worked many years and lived and actually raised part of his family, including my mom's mom, my grandmother, in Texas. But then they moved back to Mexico during a historical event during the Great Depression. But there was something in Mexico called La Repatriación, which means the repatriation program. And basically, Mexico gave away free land. And my great-grandfather Pancho was one of those people that went down there to work the land. Okay. All right. So I decided that I'm going to look up an article about that, about La Repatriación or repatriation program. And I did. Okay. I looked up an article. And so I wrote my works cited based on that article. So let me go ahead and go back to the instruction sheet, because my purpose here, the purpose for journal assignment 12 is not to produce a paragraph. Let me be very clear about that. You are not producing a paragraph for journal assignment 12. It's something else, okay? But I have to mention the paragraph in order for this other thing that we're doing to make sense. The other thing that we're doing for journal assignment 12 is a works cited list. Okay, so I'm going to go beyond this, scroll down, and it says that for your essay, you must use 2 sources. An interview with a family member or with the person who knows your family member. So that's what I did. I'm writing about someone who already died. So I interviewed someone who knew him, my mom. So that's my interview. I interviewed my mom about my great-grandfather, Pancho. And an article, an internet article, it has to be from the internet, related to one of those things. And I've told you what I decided. I decided that one of my paragraphs is about the work that he used to do. And in that paragraph, I mentioned that he used to work in Texas. I'm going to mention that he used to work in Texas, but then that he went down to Mexico to work the land. And he did other things besides farming as well. But that's the reason. So I want to mention something from an article in that paragraph that's kind of backup. So it'll back up what my mom said. Because sometimes you wonder, do people tell you the truth? My mom is not a liar as far as I can tell. But you never know if they really have the facts straight, right? And I'm happy to report that she did. It really is that. And she's been telling me for decades, so thank goodness, right? Because she hasn't been lying to me for decades or twisting the truth or anything like that. And so the point is that yeah, there was something called the repatriation program. I found several articles about it, okay? And so I'm going to use information from that in the paragraph. But in this journal assignment 12, neither you nor I is going to write the paragraph. What's journal assignment 12? Journal assignment 12 is this. It's the works cited section. Okay, we're going to produce a works cited section listing the 2 sources, which is the interview and the article. And it's really simple. It's really short, actually. It might not be simple, but it is short, okay? Now, at this point, I'm going to do something just so that just so that you can have something to, a reference point, okay? Because I'm almost making it too mysterious what we're doing here. So let me go back to week 12. And I already have a sample attached. So here it is. This is what we're doing for journal assignment 12. This is what I already did, okay? This first of all, you'll notice Perez Hilda personal interview. That's it. That is my line where I show that I interviewed my mom, okay? Notice how simple it is. Yours will be that simple too. And then this is a little more complicated, but this is the article that I found, okay? That it's the article that I'm going to have a couple of 1 or 2 quotes from in my paragraph about the work that my great-grandfather did. Okay, this is the name of the there's the article. You can see it right there. Okay, because it's linked, right? So the article is called INS Records for 1930s Mexican Repatriations, and it's part of a website called U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. The article was published or updated on the 29th of July, 2020, earlier this year. This is the URL. If I'm not careful, I'm going to click on it again from the www all the way to the end. And then this is when I found the article. I found it today. I found this article today. That's it. That's what you're going to do. You're going to have a works cited with listing the 2 things that you're going to use in your essay. Most of your sentences will come from information from your interview, but some of it, 1 or 2 sentences, 1 or 2 quotes, will come from the article. So the only purpose of journal assignment 12 is to produce a works cited list. This will become the second to the last page of your essay. Let me go back to the instructions for a moment. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Works cited section on its own page, the second to the last page of the essay, right? There it is. Now I'm going to click on this. You can do that too. This now took me to a works cited format page. This is from Purdue University. They give a lot of good, sorry, I'm kind of fumbling here with my words. There is a lot of good information on essay writing in the Purdue University Online Writing Lab, OWL, the OWL. There you see, OWL, right? It's looking, not only do you see it, but it's looking at us too, right? There it is. The link goes to the MLA Works Cited for electronic sources, because you need to find an electronic source, an internet article, okay? And that's what I did. Let me, oh no, this is distracting. I guess try to ignore this other person, right, if you can. Let me show you. I mean, here is the format. Here is the format that I used. This is what I used. Okay, for that that internet article. And then for the personal interview that I had with my mom, it wasn't part of the information on this page, but I looked over here on this table of contents and I found MLA Works Cited other common sources. When I clicked on it and scrolled a little bit, it said interview. Isn't that great? So that's where I got this format, okay? So now you know where to get your formats, right? One format for the interview, that's very simple, right? You find here in the table of contents, right? And it was called, what's it called? Other, right? MLA Works Cited other common sources. But the other one, the other one was easier to find because you can just click inside the SA3 instruction sheet, right? And it took you to this page. But you can also find it on this with MLA electronic sources. There it is, right? So at this point, I'm going to create the works cited page, all right? So for that, let's open a Word document, a new one. Okay. All right, so we can, I'm just going to start typing it and then I'll change it at the end so it looks good. So I think it'll be something like, what is it, first name, last name? I'm just gonna say first name, last name. Okay. And students, I'm going to put these brackets here. Please don't, I don't know, at least one or two people have left brackets. Please don't do that. The brackets are just there to show that it's information that you're going to replace with something else, right? I think Mr. Pettis, though, that everyone's going to say that, Mr. Pettis, because that's the instructor. Then what else is there? There is the course information, I think, right? Course information. Everyone's going to have English, 0, 100, and then V. V, you either have V05 or you have V06. But since this is kind of like a little format, again, don't put the brackets and don't put the double hashtags or pound signs. Just put your 05 or your 06, whatever it is, all right? And then the date. Well, the due date, I mean, really it's month, comma, no, it's month, and then some kind of number, right? So that could be the 12th. I mean, it would be November 12, comma, 2020, right? And again, these would also be kind of the format that you replace, so you would not leave the brackets, okay? So something like that, right? Then you need kind of like a title. Let's call it JA12, something real simple. But I also want you to put another title, works cited, right? When your works cited list becomes part of your essay, it won't have a heading because it'll be the second to the last page of your essay. So for example, page 3 or page 4 or page 5, depending on how long your essay is. It won't have any of this, right? But it will have the works cited label, and it is centered, right? It is centered electronically using that, okay? All right, now I'm going to take this back, and this is where I'm going to start pasting things, okay? And I'm going to paste this, and I notice how it's done, but it's not done quite correctly, because you will see that I'm going to double space it, and you'll see that the indentation, notice how it's a line there and then everything else is indented. That's called a hanging indent. It's going to be a little bit bigger than just this much, okay? Going to be a little bit wider indentation. Let me go ahead and copy that. And I'm just going to paste it in here. Okay. That's fine the way it is, but it's going to have to change. For example, it's not indented, right? I'm also going to get the other one. Might as well get the other one too, right? Let's go back to, what was it? MLA. Oh, yeah, LA. And don't, there's some other styles too. Don't use those right now. Ever. We're using MLA. And so for MLA, there was, what was it? Other common sources. And here is an interview. Ah, there it is. I'm going to copy that as my pony, right? We'll call it a pony or a template or format. There it is. That one's really easy. So I'm going to go ahead and change that one. I'm just going to put Perez Hilda. That is the person that I interviewed. This stays where it is. And these periods are just fine where they are. Leave them the way they are. And also the ending period. So don't get rid of periods, all right? When you're making your changes. I interviewed my mom 8 days ago on 1. Now watch. Now you'll notice that it says May in the example, right? So mine could say November 2020. That's actually wrong. I've looked through MLA, through several examples there on that website that I got these from. The only months that are written out are May, June, and July. May only has 3 letters, right? June and July only have 4 letters. All other months are longer, right? January, February, let's see, March. Now March is pretty short, but it's more than 4 letters. It's 5 letters. April has 5 letters also, so it's more than 4, right? More than May, June, and July. And then August, September, October, November, and December are long. So any month that has more than 4 letters, you have to reduce to a 3-letter abbreviation and put a period. Okay, so that's why I did that. That wasn't obvious from the template, but that's how it has to be. Then there's this other stuff over here. It is a lot of stuff. Let me invite you to simplify it, okay? First of all, I'm getting rid of this second container. I'm just getting rid of it, okay? And I'll explain, you'll see why in a moment. Really, it's not necessary. Done, gone. And then this if applicable, let's get rid of that too. It is applicable. Notice that I left the period. So I got rid of all the stuff that was right there between the previous period and the date of access, okay? Now, author, we can keep author, we can keep title, right? It'll have a title. And then title of container. So this is the article, and the so-called container can be many things. But for our purposes, it's the website. You will find your article as part of a bigger website. And that will be your, that's how it's going to be. Other contributors, translators, you probably are not going to have that. And let me be really honest with you. If you do, just ignore them, okay? Let's simplify things. Version, edition, blah, 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 blah. Let's ignore all of that, please. Ignore. Finally, when we come to date, let's not ignore that. Okay, so what am I doing? I'm simplifying the template. Author, title, title of container, date, location. That sounds like a place. Like, what's the location? It's the Burger King on 10th and whatever, right, in McAllen. No, that's not what it means. The location we need is the URL. If you're not familiar with what that means, a URL is the www blah, 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 right? Don't worry about this stuff. That's so much better, isn't it? Author, title of container, and we know it's not going to be a book. You're not supposed to use a book. You're supposed to use an internet article, so even more simplified. Notice I've preserved the period, the quotation marks, the period over here, the italics. It has to be in italics. Comma, the comma after date, the URL, the period, and then date of access and the period. Okay. This is great. This is so much easier now, isn't it? Now I look at the article that I used. Oh, yeah, which article did I use? Well, I went on Google, I typed repatriación, and you can see it there. It's only there because I've already done it. Mexico or Mexicana. And my mom said that my grandfather, my great-grandfather moved in 1939. So I used that, and notice it told me repatriation Mexican 1939. Okay, that's fine too. Repatriación 1930. Ah, okay. Repatriation in Mexico that happened in the 1930s. Makes sense. Mexican repatriation, INS records, regreso a casa, la repatriación de mexicanos en Estados Unidos, which means the return home, the repatriation of Mexicans living in the United States. Okay, and other articles. I looked through several of these, so I'm not going to do that here. After looking at several, for example, this one, repatriación, I think this was my favorite. Very nice article, 25 pages. No, I'm not going to read 25 pages for this. So when I looked at this one, I thought, hey, this one's nice, 1 page. So that's the one I picked. And of course, I didn't pick it because it was 1 page, but I picked it because it was 1 page and it talked about the stuff that I needed. When I read this, I realized, yeah, it does talk about the people it's talking about. My great-grandfather, Francisco Mujica, Pancho Mujica, was one of these people that it's talking about. Okay. So that's how I decided to use this article. I read all of it, or most of it. Some of it's not that important, but I mean, it's all good, of course, but some of it's like, okay, I don't need that part, But I read a good chunk of it, and I realized the best quote will be this one right here. While an estimated 400,000 to 1 million Mexicans and Mexican Americans left the U.S. from Mexico during the Depression, relatively few of them were expelled under formal INS-directed removal proceedings. That basically means that they were not deported. Right? My mom didn't say that my great-grandfather Pancho was deported. He wasn't. The majority returned to Mexico, it says right here, the majority returned to Mexico by their own choice or through officially voluntary repatriation programs directed by state and local governments and charitable aid agencies. I skipped this part because it opens up a can of worms that didn't happen to my grandfather. Let me be real short in explaining that part. Even though some people moved by choice back to Mexico, what many articles, including this one, argue is that they were kind of pushed out. Here's the thing though. My mom did not say in the interview that my grandfather was pushed out of the United States to go back to Mexico. It just said, all she said, or at least what she explained to me, was that he went to Mexico because in Mexico there was free land and he wanted to work the land. He wanted to have his own land and to work it. Okay. Who knows? Maybe the U.S. government got pushy and started kind of making trouble for Mexican Americans like my great-grandfather Pancho. But guess what? I don't know that. I don't know that for a fact. In the interview that I did with my mom, none of that was mentioned, either it happened and she didn't talk about it, or it simply didn't happen and there was nothing to talk about, right? So, but anyway, you'll see when I show you my actual paragraph next week, you will see that I quote this sentence, but that I'm going to kind of cut it down a little bit. I'm going to skip some parts of it. And I'm going to use some little dots, 3 dots, dot, dot, dot. It's called an ellipsis, to show where I skipped something that was part of the original quote. And that's a legal thing to do. It's not wrong. Okay, because I don't need the whole sentence. All right, so this was the article. So I'm looking at what I have. And let me do, I don't know if I should do it. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do a split screen. I'll just go back and forth. And so what pieces do I need? Author, title, container, and then the date, the WW, and the date of access. So date of access is easy, actually, because I accessed the article this morning. And so how do you put it? 9, right? The date comes, it's November 9th, 2020. But first we put the 9th, then we put the abbreviated November, and then we put 2020. So that's done. The date of the article is also very easy because it's down here. 7/29/2020, but I'm going to do it backwards, right? I'm going to do it in that special order. 29 July 2020. That's how I'm going to put it, okay? So there it is, 29 July 2020. Easy, right? And the reason that I wrote out the whole month is that it's one of the 3 short months. May, June, and July are short, so you write them out. All other months abbreviated down to 3 letters and a period. Title, that's easy, right? The title is this right here. So I'm just going to copy it. I'm going to copy and then paste. Right here. Paste. Yeah, that looks terrible, doesn't it? One thing I've noticed is that when that one's, I think what it's doing is it's keeping the original formatting. If I use this, it'll go with the formatting that's there. And for some reason, it still created a space, but no problem. I'll just bring it back. That period's important. Remember I said don't lose any of the periods. There it is. Container, that's basically the website. The container is the website. Students, I've tried this in advance, and when I try to copy this, to paste it, it doesn't let me. It clicks, and then it goes to another part of the web page. So I'm just going to type it, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Okay. So right here. What was it? U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. There it is. Let me double check. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. And notice it. I did that highlighting thing so that it would keep the italics, because the italics are important. Author. Who's the author? Well, there isn't one. I mean, somebody wrote this, but that person didn't get credit. Okay? So sometimes when you work for an organization, your name doesn't appear on the documents you produce. So it was written by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. But that's also the name of the website. So really, we're just going to skip that part. Rather than take this and write it over here as the author, it's almost pointless since we already know it's part of that website. We're just going to go like this. Done. Okay, that's it. That is the works cited entry. Now, when we go back to this, remember when I clicked on it, it showed this hanging indent, right? We're going to create that. Also, I know that you need to have double spacing all the way, okay? So this is correct. We don't indent. That's incorrect, to indent. We indent any line after it, okay? So this is, oh, students, I'm forgetting something. And it's still there. What about this? URL, okay? URL is the www blah, 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 right? I was forgetting that. Let's go get it. Go up here. I'm going to go to the beginning. Right? So I can go with the arrow or I can hit home on my keyboard. It takes it to the beginning. Don't include this part, the HTTPS, don't include that. Go from www, if there is one, all the way to the end. Then copy, and then paste that. That looks good. It looks good, but it's actually slightly off because this is Georgia 11. It's supposed to be Times New Roman 12. That's fine. I'm going to make those changes at the end. So now back to that indenting thing. This one's good. These are not. This needs to be indented. So this 29 stays where it is. This right here on my keyboard, you can't see this. I'm hitting enter. Nope, that didn't work. I'm going to undo. That did not work. Instead, I'm going to hit enter right here. Let me go back. Okay. What did I do? I pasted the URL. Okay, it's good, right? All right, so I will do what I did first. I'm going to hit enter right there. And that, the reason to hit enter, trust me, you need to do that, okay? Then I'm going to hit tab, okay? Once I did that, enter and then tab, I can hit tab. These are keys from the keyboard, and the rest will just follow. Okay? I know this is a weird spacing. This isn't the spacing we want, but we'll fix that at the end. This right here where it says HTTP, blah, 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 it shouldn't stand out like that. Okay, so I'm highlighting, I'm going like this, and I'm going to go remove hyperlink. It's still there, really, but I don't want it to show. This one's good because we don't need any indenting because it's only one line. That one's great where it is. But really, we need to fix everything so that it's Times New Roman, 12-point font, and one more thing. What's the other thing we need here? Oh yeah, the double spacing. Go to paragraph. Go to, I like these 0, 0. Go to double. That's it. Now it looks right. One thing that I haven't mentioned is that you're going to have two things, right? One of them will be your interview. Notice how easy it is to give credit to the person you interviewed. And then your own internet article that you build out of the format, like that, okay? But what about which one comes first? Do you put the article first and the interview second, like I did? Or do you put the interview first and the article second? Let me tell you, I don't know, okay? Now, I do know, but I don't know for sure. It depends. It depends on your article and on the last name of the person you interviewed. So let's say that this is the article, but let's say that instead of interviewing my mom, whose name is Hilda Perez, I'm going to invent an uncle. Okay, I do have 3 uncles, but I'm not going to say their names. You know my mom's name, that's all right. But I'm not going to further keep giving personal information, all right? And so, by the way, if that's my real mom's name, right? If that's my mom's name in the first place, right? So let's say that I interview someone named Javier Ramirez. Then it would be like that. And the position would be the same. Why? I did that wrong, right? Javier, right? There it is, Javier. Because it's an R, whereas this is an I. Okay? That's why my mom's name, Hilda Perez, is there because it's I and then R. But if I had interviewed someone whose last name were Gomez, right? Let's say that there's another Javier Gomez. I interviewed my uncle. Well, then that's a G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Ah, okay. That means that this one has to go here, and this one has to go second. All right, that's what will determine it. The first letter of your interview and of your whatever the article is. Okay, but let's go back to where it was before. There it is. This is my works cited page. Isn't it beautiful, right? One thing that's kind of missing here at the top would be the, let's see, insert, page number, top of page, play number 3. But I'm going to put this last name thing, last name. And then we need to change it also. Wait, I have to stay up there. Change it so that it has the Times New Roman 12, just like everything else does, right? There it is. And you know that you're not going to put your last name in brackets. I mean, you're not going to leave this the way it is, first of all. Second of all, you're not going to put your last name in brackets. You're just going to put your last name there, right? And really, I think it's more like this, isn't it, right? Because it's not going to be page 1. It's going to be page 3 or 4 or 5, whatever the second to the last page is. So let's say your paragraphs are like 2 pages. Well, then this is going to be on page 3. If your paragraphs end up being 3 pages, right, then this is going to be on page 4. And then there'll be another page, which I'll explain later on. I'll explain it next week. So really, it's more like that, isn't it? But no brackets, right? Once it's part of your essay number 3, it will no longer have brackets. Here you can keep brackets if you want. That's fine. Or you can no, you can't, right? You have to put your first name and last name without brackets, your actual information without brackets, and the actual date without brackets. You can leave this one, but I would go ahead and put your last name there and then leave this one how it is. Leave this one unchanged because you don't know what your last page will be unless you've already written essay number 3. So that's it. I've produced it. Okay. The only last thing that I want to show you, let me see. Oh yeah, I want us to read the instructions carefully on the journal assignment itself. All right. Let me save this. Oh gosh, I don't. There's a reason I'm hesitating, like where to save it. Students, I'm not going to save it. Okay, I'm not going to save it. All right. But let's go back to content, that week 12. Let's click on the assignment link. And everything we see here will be kind of familiar. Find an article related to one of the 3 things you want to focus on in your essay, living or dead. Hint, you should be able to find the 3 things in your journal assignment 11, right? Because in your journal assignment 11, right, there you wrote your outline, right, of the things that you're going to write about. And didn't I open that document at some point? Yeah, I showed you that, right? I showed it as part of the video. Let me do it really quickly, okay, really quickly, unless it's up here. Yeah, there it is. There it is, right? Yeah. Right, I showed you how you decide which one you're going to find an article for, right? And I decided it was the one about his work, the fact that he moved back to Mexico, right, as part of that repatriation program, right? Okay. So where's the assignment? There it is. So I decided that, and here I have some examples. Let's say that there's a student who did an interview, right, and in the interview found out that the relative. Let me be very careful about what this is. The person doesn't mean you, the student, okay? So let me say you. You are the student, and you are doing an essay about one of your relatives, right? That's the person. So if your relative's dad, I'm sorry, maybe it shouldn't be you. Okay, there's a student, right, who's writing this essay and writing this journal. That student that student is doing the essay about a person, about a relative, someone who's still alive or someone who died. And in the interview about that person finds out that that relative's dad died, okay, during active duty in the military, okay, then that student would find an article about families that have to deal with that, families that have to grieve when their family members die as part of active service in the military, okay? Let me be a little clearer in the next example. Let's say that there is a student who is going to write about her grandmother. Let's say the grandmother is still alive, okay? And interviewed the grandmother and found out in the interview that she either used to like dancing cumbia or still does it, right? Still dances cumbia, right? Either way. So, as part of the paragraph, for a little bit of information, 1 or 2 quotes, this student would find information in an article about cumbia dancing, right? Pretty simple. Let's say there is a student who is writing about an uncle who passed away and is interviewing someone else, maybe a cousin, right? Someone who's the uncle's child, right? And in doing the interview, the student finds out that uncle really liked to barbecue, okay? So that student could find an article about barbecue competitions. Why? Because the uncle used to compete, right? Or maybe not. Maybe the uncle should have competed. Maybe after quoting 1 or 2 sentences from the article in the paragraph, the student will say, my uncle, based on what my cousin is saying, my uncle would have won all of those competitions. He would have gone national, right? Something like that. Yeah, who needs national? If you win Texas, you've already won the barbecue, right? But anyway, the barbecue competition of the whole world, right? So the point is that, yeah, those are just examples, right? But you saw my example, right? Mine was about my grandfather. I interviewed my mom. His was more kind of like this one, right? It wasn't about his hobbies, right? That one. It's about something that happened to him, something that he did, right? He moved from the United States to Mexico. And therefore, I found an article about that. And most of my paragraph will be about all the things I found out in the interview, but I'll throw in 1 or 2 quotes from the article. And I'll show you that paragraph and how to do that in the video for journal assignment 13, because journal assignment 13 will be body paragraphs A, B, and C. So one of those will be the one that has the quote, the MLA citation, and all that. So this journal is easier, right? Because you're just deciding on the article and then including it in the works cited list that has both the interview and the article, as you have seen already. And so when you do it, you create journal entry. You type JA12 according to the instructions that are on it, right? And you either type it here, do your best with formatting. If you can't get it to look right here, it's a little bit harder than in a Word document. I'll be okay with that. You can still get 100 as long as all the pieces are there. Type works cited and then the 2 things in the proper order, and then hit post entry. What I prefer, though, is that you do like I did, right? I created a document. I would save it somewhere. I would browse my computer, and then I would attach it. Okay. And then of course I would hit the post entry, as you've seen me do before, right? So that's how you enter it. That's how you produce it. And please read through all of these instructions in here, okay? Oh, actually, I had previously attached it. Earlier today. So that's why it's there. All right, I hope this video is useful. I think it is. And if you have any questions, please contact me as soon as possible. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.